1999 FIFA Women's World Cup, bringing women's soccer into the spotlight, by Siri Ekman and Sydney Brood. Soccer has changed so much over the years, from the first big stars to soccer's current stars like Messi, Ronaldo, and Mbappe. Soccer has continued to grow. When people think of soccer and its stars, they might think about Argentina winning the World Cup last year. But when soccer comes to mind for most, are many thinking about women's soccer? It all started in the late 1970s through 1985. A problem in the United States was that women's soccer wasn't taken seriously. That changed in 1999 when the USWNT, aka the US Women's National Team, won the FIFA Women's World Cup, to show that women can be really good and passionate about soccer. Shortly after, more women's soccer teams/programs were formed. This changed history because now the USWNT is one of the best women's soccer teams in the world. This was a turning point because it pushed past stereotypes, sparked the creation of the first professional women's soccer league called Women's United Soccer Association, or WUSA, and elevated women's soccer at a national level. Long before women's soccer was played at a national level, before women played sports professionally, a law called Title IX was passed on June 23, 1972, by President Richard Nixon, giving girls and women in the United States the opportunity to play a sport funded by the USA without discriminating against women because of their sex. Mostly dance, horseback riding, and cheerleading were offered before Title IX, but some women's sports organizations worked towards having other sports teams at national championships, like the Division for Girls and Women in Sport, DGWS. DGWS was formed in 1957, so women in college could play sports. After 1957, this program changed many times, and finally, in 1969, national championships were announced for some women's sports like gymnastics, track and field, badminton, and swimming. Later, volleyball and basketball were added to have college national championships in 1970 and 1972. After Title IX, girls and women were participating in more sports, and women in college were 15% more likely to be involved in a sport after 1972. In fact, from 1972 to 2001, participation in women's sports increased by 43%. Girls in high school had an athletic participation increase from 295,000 in 1971 to 2.8 million in 2002. A big increase of over 840% in 1981 through 1982. Women's sports championships became a part of the National College Athletic Association (NCAA) program. The United States Women's National Team, USWNT, was formed in 1985, though many people in the United States thought of them as inferior to men's teams and didn't think they were good enough to form a team and play internationally. After a few years of playing together, in some international games, FIFA announced the first Women's Soccer World Cup would take place in 1991. Even with barely any pay, old hand-me-down jerseys from the U.S. men's teams, and not much support from the U.S., they worked hard every day to win the 1991 Women's World Cup. The 1999 World Cup was the most iconic Women's World Cup. The U.S. women's soccer team fought hard to stay in the competition. There were many games before the championship game, with an opening victory of 3-0 against Denmark, then a win against Germany 3-2 in the quarterfinals, and a 2-0 victory in the semifinals against Brazil. The U.S. made it to the finals against China, which the U.S. won in penalty kicks 5-4. This was a major turning point in women's soccer and women's sports because it showed how strong and passionate women can be. Also, it proved that women are just as good as men. Another reason why this is a turning point is that it inspired women and girls everywhere to play soccer and other sports too. After the 1999 World Cup, things were not the same for women's sports. There are more opportunities for women's soccer at high schools and colleges, instead of just having horseback riding and dancing. The USWNT also got a lot of publicity, especially players like Michelle Akers, Brandy Chastain, Mia Hamm, Julie Foundy, and Christine Lilly. Another positive effect of the 1999 win was that WUSA was created, Women's United Soccer Association. WUSA only lasted 3 seasons, but it paved the way for future leagues. Now the U.S. women's team has finally gotten mostly equal treatment and are getting even closer and closer to getting equal pay too. They've also won 4 World Cups and are one of the most feared teams in the world, and the 99ers started all those things. Because of the 99ers, who started fighting for equal pay and gave inspiration to the young women who make the team now, like in Alex Morgan's book Breakaway, I will always remember Brandy Chastain scoring the PK and ripping her shirt off. It was an inspiration to everyone, and it still is. Around 1985 through 1999, the USWNT got around $10 a day for meals. Right now, the top USWNT players get around $72,000 a year and play a minimum of 20 games per year. They get bonuses if they win games, but still, the U.S. men's soccer team players get around $5,000 per game. And if players make the World Cup roster, each player gets a bonus of $68,750 versus the women's team players in 2016 only got around $15,000, but now get $30,000. The U.S. women's team has gone so far, but women are still fighting for more equal pay and really just equal treatment. From Title IX to the founding of the team, then winning the 1999 World Cup to get more opportunities, win more World Cups, and break more records. The U.S. women's soccer team is better because of the 1999 Women's World Cup.